Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pooja Pillai, and I'm here on behalf of the Indian Express to welcome you to the latest edition of Adda, a series of informal interactions with news and opinion makers organized by the Indian Express Group. Our guest today is Ashwini Vaishnaw, the Union Minister for Railways, Communications, Electronics and Information Technology. He will be in conversation with Anand Goenka, Executive Director, the Indian Express, and Anil Shashi, National Business Editor, the Indian Express. Before I hand this over to Anand and Anil, I would like to thank our presenting partner, Religare Enterprises Limited, also our associate partners, for Stima, Vande Bharat Sahakari Bank Limited, Railtel Corporation of India and Devans, and of course our hospitality partner, Le Méridien. Anand and Anil, please.
You want to shift it there? That's all right. All right, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ashwini ji, Saturday evening, well, we were supposed to do this on a weekday, but it's on a weekend, and still I think the turnout, it's all because of you. Everybody's very excited to hear from you. Welcome to the Express Adda. It's your first Adda, and what we'd like to do, we'd like to have a very candid, open-ended conversation. We'll try not to have any fights on stage to break from the way that other media normally has conversations like this. Ashwini ji is really, a very multifaceted personality in the bureaucracy, then in corporate life, briefly, and then now as a politician, with such a diverse set of ministries. So very, very exciting just to see that arc. So I think just before we start, just to kick it off, just tell us, were you always somebody who liked to do many things at the same time, or is it something that the Prime Minister is making you do, 3 different things at the same time?
On the contrary, I believe in a lot of focused work. In fact, most of the times, I don't believe in multitasking. I don't believe in doing 10 things at the same point of time. At any point of time, I would generally be focusing on one thing. It's time division multiplexing in our language of telecom.
And you're an incredible techie. You've done some incredible things. You have, I remember when I first met you, you told me about this time where you created an electronic database for audio files. You've connected, first printer system through a network. So you can do network printing. That was also something that you have sort of did yourself. And came from fairly humble sort of background, I believe learned to speak English by reading an English newspaper.
Hindu newspaper.
We won't say which newspaper because it wasn't the Express, I believe, but you learned to read from reading an English newspaper. So, just this journey, this is like a poster child of what ambitious India is, right? Is that, how would you summarize your journey for us from getting to where you are today?
No, God has been very kind, and lots of people have really made a big difference in my life. I thank each one of them. And this kind of opportunity is something very rare. I thank Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji for that, because coming from that kind of very humble background and not having any very big ambitions in life, reaching here is a good thing to be.
And Vande Bharat, I think that's the one that we're all... get a quick show of hands. Who all have actually ridden on a Vande Bharat, just to get a sense of what we're dealing?
How many have traveled? What's your experience? Let's see. Fantastic. Anybody else?
Absolutely.
Good. What about you? From that side behind? World class? Actually, on multiple parameters, it is world class. On large number of parameters, if you permit me, I'll explain this. What are the parameters on which trains are tested, right? First and foremost parameter is acceleration. 0 to 100, 52 seconds Vande Bharat. Equivalent best trains, I won't take any names, best trains in the world, I'm saying the most developed and rich countries, 54 seconds, 55 seconds or 60 seconds. This is 52 seconds. On the ride index, that means how many jerks, what kind of comfort you get. I actually took a video of a recent travel in one of the world's best trains, and I was showing to Anant. The vibration that you get in Vande Bharat at 180 kmph are actually less than what you get in world's best train at 120 kmph. Noise level, compared to an aeroplane, 100 times less noise inside Vande Bharat. And measured, these are not I'm saying off the cuff, these are measured numbers. So on practically every parameter, this train is superior compared to world's best.
And in spite of the fact, we discussed it once before, but just for the audience, in spite of the fact that the train tracks are actually not yet world class. I mean, that's going to take a long time to upgrade.
Getting upgraded very rapidly. Last year, we did 5,200 kilometers of new tracks, a record 14 kilometers a day. 10 years back, this used to be 3.5, 4 kilometers a day. Now it is 14 kilometers a day, new tracks. And renewal of the old tracks, which means when we are replacing worn-out tracks or upgrading them in multiple ways, that number is of the order of 7,500, 8,000 kilometers every year now. So rapidly upgrading. The tracks were earlier designed for 70, 80 kmph speeds. Most of the tracks now we are upgrading to 100. A large part of it we are upgrading to 130, and significant portion we will be doing 160 kmph. Beyond 160 kmph, we have to elevate.
Yeah.
It has to be on viaduct or a large embankment. Otherwise, many other issues come in.
But just, I mean, walk us through the fact that all of this, I mean, the technology is so advanced that in spite of the old tracks, you're able to maintain all the achievements that you are.
So we need to understand it from the design. So what is a train system? Sorry, I'm being a bit technical here. There are 5 major systems inside a train. One of them is called a bogie system. Bogie is basically equivalent of a truck's chassis. A truck has a chassis, and above, yes, good, thank you. This is bogie. So in a train, what we normally call bogie, that's actually coach. So coach is what sits on top of the bogie. So this is bogie. The design of this was very, very complex design. 18 systems, subsystems working inside. There is a wheel system, there is a brake system, there is a spring system, there is a motor sitting on it, there is an axle around there. Very, very complex. We designed it better than what the world's best designs are. And it was very difficult to actually manufacture it to that complexity. It took us about 6-7 months perfecting this, getting the supply chain of this, getting the design of this, getting the cast elements of this in absolutely precise dimensions. So it was really complex, but this has made a very big difference.
And how long did it take, start to finish? And it was all in India. Nothing. There was no knowledge transfer from some foreign. Nothing.
Absolutely done by our own engineers, done by our own people, and we had to create a new supply chain. Again, using our own companies within Coimbatore, and Coimbatore has some very good mechanical companies. So from those places, yeah.
Coach building, no?
Basically, people who are very good at forging, casting, machining, those items.
And how about the map of the Vande Bharats, the 17 or 18 of them that are there and the others that are in the pipeline? How was the selection of that map on a nationwide basis done?
So the first target is to connect every state. Even though whatever be the size, whatever be the population, we have to connect every state. And our target is by mid of June, we would have connected every state. So by mid of June, coming 20, 25 days, 30 days, we would have connected every state. And then we will be taking routes which are very busy. See, the idea is like this. Up to 100 kilometers distance between two cities, that's kind of commuting kind of distance. So we are developing a train called Vande Metro. Again, this will be a world-class train. The technology for 100 kilometers is different from the technology for beyond 100. From 100 to 500, we have designed this Vande Bharat sleeper, chair car. Beyond 500 kilometers, it has to be a different technology. That will be a Vande sleeper. So sleeper and metro are in the design process at this point of time. And metro should be coming by January, and sleeper should be coming by March of next year. And I can guarantee you, when you see the designs of these two trains, especially the sleeper version, anything in the world would not compare to this. It will be certainly better than best of the world. That's the way we are designing it.
No, wonderful. Yeah. And is there a... And is there a target कि 2024 elections के पहले इतना we should be rolled out? Is the election?
Prime Minister Saab says that keep thinking of the country, keep working for the country. Elections, they will come and go.
But फिर भी कोई target है before 2024?
अभी we have actually started the production process.
You're 18 now, ना? 18 वंदे हो गए.
देखो, after 35 years, you should stop counting your age. Right? So
I'm 36, so I'm still getting used to it.
So, see, we have started the production process for 400 trains. That's large. Probably the largest volume in the world at this point of time. Right now, we are doing about every 8 days we roll out one train. And very soon we are kind of developing the supply chain for 2 more factories. As they develop, we will be rolling out one train practically every 3rd day. That's the pace at which we are working.
Wonderful. So in terms of the demand supply gap, while qualitatively there's no denying that the experiences has improved, the passenger experience, and the show of hands was reflective of that. But in terms of demand supply gap, there seems to be an unmet demand of something like 300 crore passengers annually. 1100 crores is the demand, it seems, and 800 is what we're meeting at this point in time. So how has the demand supply gap moved over the years, and is that a concern? Is that something that you're also...
Excellent question, and thank you for asking that. We must understand, for a country of our size, 140 crore population, our kind of per capita income, what is the best source of transportation? In transport economics, when you study transport economics, you'll find up to 100, 200, 300 kilometers, road is the best mode. Up to 1,000 kilometers, rail is the best mode. Beyond 1,000 kilometers, air is the best mode. The current distribution of our transportation is like this. Approximately 35 or 37 crore is aviation at this point of time. Approximately 200 crore to 250 crore is road. And approximately 750 crore to 800 crore is rail. So that is the current scenario of transportation. Now, in the income pyramid, the upper income and upper middle would prefer aviation, always. Middle and lower middle would have a mix of train and road, because you own a car, you can actually travel outside in your own comfort. The lower middle and the lower income, that will always prefer rail. That's the way, if you put on the dimension of distance and the dimension of income, that's how it plays out. So countries which are equivalent in our population size, of our geographical size, I wouldn't take any names, they invested very heavily in railways. Almost like in one of the countries, the formula was like your investment in road plus port plus airport. If that is 100, then the investment in railway would be 300. That kind of consistently for many years, that kind of thing was followed. Otherwise, what happens is transportation and logistics becomes a bottleneck for the growth of the economy. So in 2014, when the budget of railways was merged with the general budget in 2016 actually, the thought process was that we have to increase the investment in rail. So far the investment was going skewed ever since Atalji did the Golden Quadrilateral, and I was part of that team which worked on this. ever since that time, there was a skewed investment, almost 4 or 5 times investment in rail. That much was going into highways. And that's why highways got built. So our Prime Minister understood this whole complexity of a nation, complexity of large population, and then he started increasing the investment in rail. So that's where the, sorry for a longish answer, but that's where the answer comes. We have to do very heavy investment in railways for at least next 15 years. We must invest minimum 3 lakh crore every year, at least for the next 15 years. So last year we added 5,200 kilometers of new tracks. That has significantly removed many bottlenecks which were there in the network. That kind of investment we have to do every year after year after year after year. For the next 15 years, we must do that. Then only our country will be able to transport goods, have a lower cost of logistics. So for example, again, on the same point, the cost of transportation by rail is almost 1/3 the cost of transportation by road. The carbon emissions by road are about 100 grams per ton kilometer. Carbon emission by rail is about 11 grams per ton kilometer, 1/10, factor of 10. So if we have to go green, if we have to have a low cost of logistics, then we as a country must invest significantly into railway, then only we'll be able to meet that unmet demand and keep the country's logistics cost low.
Would you know the aviation ka kya carbon footprint hoga per kilometer off the top of your head?
It's actually higher than, definitely higher than rail. I don't know how much it is exactly.
And what's the breakup in the spend right now, just in terms of how much is being invested in road versus aviation versus rail today? So you said we should do 3 lakh crore, you said. How much did you say?
So last year, I mean, in the current budget, which we are right now implementing, the allocation for railway was 2,40,000 crore. Allocation was highway was still higher at 2,60,000 crore. And aviation allocation is a bit lower than that.
And on freight, carrying of freight, there's been this cost subsidy element for passenger fares. Now that there is dynamic pricing on the passenger side, does it give you more leeway to be more competitive on freight rates?
So frankly, we are giving 59,000 crore. 59,000 crores, that's bigger than many states' budgets. Central government of India is giving 59,000 crore subsidy on passenger transportation at this point of time, which practically means every passenger on an average is getting about 55% concession. It's that subsidized. Our prices are lowest in the world. Our passenger prices are lowest in the world. A journey of Vande Bharat, if you do that journey in France, it would be about 7 times the price. If you do that journey in Japan, it would be about 8 or 9 times the price. If you do the similar journey in Switzerland, that will be about 20 times the price. That is the kind of thing. And in freight, last year we made another record. We carried 1.5 billion tons. 1.5 billion tons. That is second highest in the world. Highest, of course, is another large country. So, yes, the earnings from freight, in a sense, is good. That cross-subsidize it. And we have very large team. Our team is 12 lakh employees, 1.2 million employees. So, and the pension cost is about 55,000 crore. Salary and wages is about 1,02,000 crore. Energy cost is 40,000 crore. Our maintenance cost is about 9,000 crore. So with all those numbers, it's a tough math.
But so is this one of the reasons why we don't see any innovation in the financing of the railways of India? I mean, it's always, there's this, it's a country. It's an enormous country. It's not even a small country, the way the whole setup works.
Yeah.
public-private
See, the,
partnerships. Abroad
world-
you see the trains are owned by private companies. Virgin in UK runs trains.
It has all failed there.
It's all?
Failed.
It's all failed.
Yeah, yeah. It's a. Let me not talk on the stage here, but see, the social obligation of railway, whether it is India or any other country, we must understand that. Almost every country in the world which is carrying passengers is subsidizing the passenger transportation. Why is that done? For example, take the example of Mumbai. Close to 4,000 crore is the annual subsidy which goes in Mumbai local. But imagine the impact, positive impact, the huge benefit that comes to the city.
Yeah.
That 4,000 crore loss.
It powers the whole city. The whole workforce in Mumbai is on the
It
local
powers the
train.
entire city's economy.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. So Tokyo to Osaka, Shinkansen, even though the fares are subsidized, but that is powering the economies of Tokyo, Nagoya, Kobe, Kyoto, Osaka. Those 5 cities become one city. So that's the way one has to look at. So under those circumstances, when the passenger fare is almost, if the cost is 100, we are charging 45, then private sector would not like to get into that kind of loss-making business. The countries which followed the global organizations' practices, advice, and did that unbundling of infrastructure and trains, they all failed. Miserably failed. I wouldn't take any name, but another country which used to take pride of having 99.9% punctuality is today facing 85% punctuality, and one of their network, one of their track which is as important as our Delhi-Mumbai, they are required to close it for months. So we should not follow those pundits who are just sitting in room and armchair pundits. The reality is that railway is a very, very complex organization. It has to be managed as a tightly integrated organization. Then it works very well. The moment you fragment it, it's not like power sector, where fragmentation helps. This is a very, very complex transportation sector. Now, unlike other transportation sectors, for example, aviation, you have a box-like thing which is an airport. You have a runway on which you can land a Bombardier, you can land an Airbus, you can land a Boeing. On a track, you cannot run a train which is not meeting your exact gauge, right? Which is not integrated with your signaling, which is not integrated with your overhead electricity wires. It has to be absolutely integrated. You cannot carry a train which doesn't meet your axle load requirements. All those things are so important. Even like, so let's say if there is a curve, if the train is designed for a speed which is plus minus a certain percentage of that curve speed, it will topple. So it's a very, very complex system, one of the most complex transportation systems in the entire world. So it has to be run as a tightly knit, tightly integrated system.
So you would never advise at any stage the Indian government to think about privatization, listing the Indian railways?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make economic sense.
And the asset value of the platform, of the stations, I mean, that is completely locked up as it is right now.
Again, we have to look at it from a very, very scientific perspective. What is that scientific perspective? On a station, see, a station is like a city. It has multiple subsystems interacting with each other, which help pass a train in a safe way. Because a simple mistake would create a collision between a train which is standing there and a train which is entering. It's very, very complex, very, very complex. So the way to manage this is, the scientific way to do is, use the station as an operational area, use that area for minimum construction. Immediately outside the operational area, have the maximum possible construction. That's what our Prime Minister has given us the mandate. And we are developing, at this point of time, 1,275 stations we are developing on this concept. Work is going on all over the country, people come and feel happy when they see the station designs, because our Prime Minister said, Virasat bhi, Vikas bhi. So Virasat and Vikas, these two things have to go hand in hand. Heritage has to be maintained. Some of the station buildings, this is Gandhinagar, this is Ahmedabad, show Gwalior, or this is CSMT Mumbai, this is Jaipur. So Jaipur wale pe rukna ek second. If you look at this, there is, if you see, the heritage is maintained while we are developing it as a world-class station. So that kind of thought process is, again, it's very difficult to implement, but our Prime Minister's vision, his focus on this is so clear that we are able to get it.
And there's an aesthetic difference because every airport in the world now looks the same, but all your train stations seem to be looking quite different.
Absolutely. Some of the stations, Kerala wala wo. Yeah, look at this Ernakulam, right? I mean, all these stations, each one of them is designed looking at the local ethos, local culture, making sure that the world-class elements come, the design is good, and again, I've said this on public stage, I mean many times, but I would like to point this out. When we took the initial designs, about 50 stations, to show it to Prime Minister, taking his ideas and thought process, he didn't approve it. And then he calls me up in the night and tells me that, no, your station designs are good for today, design them for 50 years ahead. That kind of thought process has gone in all these stations. Yeah.
Ashwini ji, the Railways Ministry is always, I mean, has been known famously in India to be, run by, these incredibly long sort of political, like, people who've got very strong popular mandates. You've had Lalu and Nitish and, seriously, Mamta, very strong sort of on-ground vote-getting leaders.
That's why we are where we are.
Actually, no, actually, that's actually what I wanted to hear from you. Like, what is the difference? Why do you think then that, people who are professional politicians, who have just been their whole careers talking about popular mandates and working on popular mandates, why have they not been as efficient as a bureaucrat like yourself has?
So I wouldn't like that comparison to be there. What I would like to say is that the railway touches 25 crore people's, 2.5 crore people's lives every day. 2.5 crore people travel every day. 2.5 crore is a large number, entire population of Delhi kind of thing, right? Mumbai would be what?
5 crores? All large Mumbai?
Mumbai would be about
Thane, Navi Mumbai,
1.2 or 1.3 crore, right?
If you take Thane, Navi Mumbai, everything combined,
then it would be a bigger number. So it's a large number. 2.5 crore is a very large number. Then there are still so many areas in the country where the primary mode of transportation is railways. Third, the impact it has on the lives of the low-income families, it's tremendous. It's very big. So that's why, for a very long period, people who were managing this ministry were purely thinking from populist way. Our Prime Minister changed the entire, so by, merging the budget, it makes huge sense. It makes huge logic. It's the most logical thing to do. But still, because people wanted to take a political mileage of presenting a budget and announcing things which are not viable, if you look at the number of projects which were sanctioned in many of those years, 2010, 2011, many of those years, just one stone was laid, period. No estimate done, no survey done. That was the approach which was there. And now the approach is rigorous assessment of every project, rigorous assessment of every technology, lots and lots of focus on developing our own capabilities, making sure that people go up in the skill levels, making sure that the safety is given as much importance as comfort. All those things are, that is the, excuse me, that's the paradigm shift that Prime Minister has brought in.
It also, I think, goes to show that whatever is populist often isn't practical and often isn't correct.
But, for example, Vande Bharat is an example where it's popular, I'm not saying populist, it's popular as well as it makes a lot of economic and technological sense.
No, fair.
So with Vande Bharat again, is there a GQ equivalent that you're looking at for the railways in terms of how it links up eventually? Or is it just state-focused and city-focused at this point in time?
So the best designed transportation systems in the world work on hub and spoke model. Best design. And that's a design, I mean, best design networks is the right word to use, even if it is a telecom network or an electricity network. Best designed networks work on hub and spoke. We should look at a transportation network from a hub and spoke perspective. We should never look at it from a shape perspective. That's the way we should always look at it. So Germany has world's best logistics cost. On logistics competitiveness, Germany stands the best. If you look at their design, immediately you'll find they have the largest rail density, which again immediately reflects into the lower logistics cost, right? So when you look at that network, you get a perspective that yes, this kind of hub and spoke we should do. So our focus will be shift from that mindset of shapes and connecting this particular constituency to that particular constituency, shift away from that mindset and create a network which will be the network for next 50 years. So by that thought process we are trying to put in this.
And is there a way you've I think we'll move on from railways after this, but is there a way you've quantified the impact this will have on the economy, you know, aside from the P&L of your each train or each particular rail project? Is there some sort of even a broad vision about what this will do? Like in the Golden Quadrilateral, there was a very clear sort of thought you need to do this to bring down all kinds of, you know, just to grow the economy overall.
So let's say, in fact, that's a very good question. I wish it were a economics class out here. That would have been the right place, but I'll give you a slide. I'll try to simplify it. What is the logistics cost of the country? Around 13-14% of the GDP. How much is our GDP today? 272 lakh crore rupees, 272 trillion rupees, 31st March. If the logistics cost reduces by 1%, what will be the benefit to our country, to our economy? 2.7 lakh crore every year, I mean in this year, and as GDP increases, this number increases. Let's say 3 lakh crore per year. If you make an investment of 10 lakh crore in railways in the coming 3 years or 4 years, you reduce the logistics cost by roughly 2 percentage points. 2 percentage points translates to, in the same equation, 6 lakh crore every year. 6 lakh crore 1 year, and that system is going to run for at least 30 years.
30 years, you say?
Yeah, at least 30 years. So over 30 years, 6 lakh crore, 180 lakh crore is what you save in the economy by investing those 10 lakh crores. That's the huge, massive impact of railways on country's economy. That's why the smart countries, they invested hugely in railways, and that's why our Prime Minister, immediately from 2014 onwards, he made a big shift of massive investment in railways.
Very interesting. I don't think we needed to be in an economics class to hear that. That was a fantastic explanation, and we got some numbers also out of it. I think just switching to tech a little bit, if I may, Anil, I can move to tech a little bit. It's a segue. I'm drawing a certain parallel. What we've seen around the world, Ashwini ji, is that, you know, tech the thought was get the consumers, the business model will follow. That was fundamentally what we kind of saw, especially when all the rapid digitization through COVID, it was all just user growth. There was also talk about capitalizing user growth, you know. And we're kind of seeing that now. People are asking bottom line kya hai? That model, that thing about getting the users and then seeing what happens in the future, that is now being questioned and tested.
That should always be questioned and always be tested. Bottom line is important. It's very important. That's the sustainable way to grow a business. So I think it's a very positive thing, and it has happened in the past also. Question is, we didn't have a startup ecosystem in the country before. 10 years before, the number was just about 300, 200 something, right? Today we have 90,000 startups.
Right.
So the visibility is more. Otherwise, that question of initially you can burn cash, you can grow your market share, you can create your volumes, everything in the initial phase, but immediately after that, there was always a question of what's the sustainable business model. So I think it's a good thing. That's definitely going to help our startups create really sustainable models which can get into significantly longer lifespan businesses using this thought process.
And where do you think we are now? I mean, are we in that place where the correction has started? Is we in the middle of it? Is there a correction at all?
On the contrary, I don't think correction is the right word to use here. On the contrary, I see a lot of focus on deep tech. I see lots and lots of focus on real technologies. I see startups coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Very recently, we had a group of about 50 startups which had all come from tier 3 and tier 4 cities. We sent them to Silicon Valley and made them interact with the VC world out there and find new mentors. So that kind of phenomenon is actually coming out. So I sincerely and frankly think that today we are among top 3 startup nations in the world. I sincerely believe that in the coming 3 to 4 years, we would be competing with the topmost startup ecosystem in the world.
And in terms of the overarching sort of architecture on the regulatory side for fostering innovation, the technology side, there are different templates. In the US, it is more focused on innovation. In Europe, it's probably more regulation. China, obviously, there is a state control angle. I know that we're charting out a different path, but is there a model? Is there a template that we're looking at, and how does that shape up over the next, say, 5 years, 10 years?
So that's actually the most difficult thing to do, because some geographies, they tended to put too much of focus on basically a rights-based, entitlement-based regulatory structure. And those geographies have really fallen behind in innovation. There is another set of geography, again, a couple of geographies, where the focus was on laissez-faire, so you don't think of any regulation till things have gone to a level, right? Innovation was very high, but then the citizens' rights were, in that sense, less important. What we have tried to do is create a balance between protecting citizens' rights and innovation. And luckily, given the thought process, given the good talent that we have in our country, and given the complexity of our society, we can think of really complex models. For example, the data protection bill which has come, you must have seen the draft and all. Today, and I wouldn't like to say this and take any names, but one very large newspaper's CEO said that the world should stop following the model which they are following now. They should adopt the Indian template, because that's the right balance between innovation and citizens' rights. So that kind of appreciation everywhere people are giving to the approach we are taking. So I think we are good, we are on track on that, and we'll continue to follow that approach where innovation gets equal importance as with the rights-based philosophy, which is the other extreme.
Do you believe that the Indian user, internet user, isn't as concerned about privacy as the American internet user is? I'm saying the user, I'm not saying the government, I'm asking from a user perspective.
So I wouldn't like to make that comparison, because different societies are at different stages of their evolution. We all have our own challenges, we all have our own aspirations, we all have our own position in the world. at every particular moment of time, we should think what is the best for us to reach to the next level. And then we should design our regulations. Copying something from either this part or that part of the world, left or right of the world, is probably not the right way. In my thought process, and that's where our government also very clearly says that we should look at our realities and we should then take the next step. Our government's focus is always look at your reality today, and if we stand here and we have to go there, what is it that will take us from here A to B? That's the way we should think.
Because the data protection bill, that is the new one that you're talking about now, which is getting a lot of appreciation. It's also, I mean, we've taken a lot of time to get here. You know, there was a Sri Krishna commission. He had a whole bunch of suggestions in that commission, which we kind of pretty much said, you know, let's redraw. It's taken its time. Is it because we weren't sure of what the user wants, or we weren't sure about how involved government needs to be in this process?
No, so, see, the world changed during COVID, right?
Yeah.
The entire pandemic changed the way we work, the way everything changed. And what we learn throughout this experience, then, I mean, it's always better to frame your regulations and laws from what you learn from your social interaction. So that's what we have done.
Right.
But when it comes to certain things that are being put out in the public domain, you know, the appellate committees on content moderation, for instance, or this fact-checking body for looking at government information on the internet, there seems to be, and I know it's early days, but there seems to be some criticism that it's overtly, you know, the government has an oversized role there. And there are other things where you've sort of, I think, brought in, you know, self-regulation or co-regulation. The gaming regulations are an instance, or this other body for fact-checking non-governmental information, where again you've said that it's perhaps best that industry looks at it. So there seems to be these two planks. One is, of course, this larger government say in things. The other is letting industry decide to foster innovation. In all of this, is there a roadmap to dovetail consumer, you know, privacy concerns?
So look at the whole thing from a complete picture. What is this complete picture that we are having in front of us? We are an economy which is rapidly growing, consistently growing. We are a population which has huge talent. We have youngsters and entrepreneurs who want to really do big things. In entire framework, we have to look at the diversity of our society. We have to look at the social institutions that are there. How do we improve the trust factor in our social institutions, in our political institutions, in our economic institutions, when the huge, that astronomical high growth in information and visibility is there, right? So I'll give you an example of one of the, without again taking a name, one of the countries which considers freedom of speech above God, right? The digital minister of that country told me.
You can say names of the countries, huh? It's not a problem.
It's we are in public life. We are in public life, so we are in public life. It's very important to have always be. So that country's digital minister told me that the social media is destroying the institutions which were created over last 300 years. So I asked that person that your country thinks that freedom of speech is like above God. Why do you think that? And that person gave me a very good example. She said, when the printing press came, anybody could print anything and distribute. It created a huge astronomical growth in information at that point of time. People started printing, writing, everything. When the society started getting affected by it, they created regulations around it. fundamental point was accountability of the paper,
Publisher, yeah.
publisher. That similar phenomenon is now happening in social media. Social media has to be accountable. It has to be accountable for what they are publishing. It cannot be that I am a platform, so I can go away. So whatever you are seeing is fundamentally making sure that a diverse society as Indian society can remain stable, grow in a harmonious way, and nobody should be allowed to create disharmony using the latest technology which is available. This is the thought process. There will be certain sections of the society who will say that no, this is not fitting into our liberal way of thinking. But if you look at the sum total of the entire thing, our society is very, very diverse. Our society has huge complexity. So we must make sure that a society is able to grow in a harmonious way. It should not be, in a sense, our democracy should not be taken to ransom by one way of thinking.
The fundamental problem is the anonymity which the internet allows, social media allows. You can be XYZ dot, you can just be an XYZ handle and you can say whatever you want. If the anonymity is tackled, even then you feel we need to have all these structures, we need to have all the kind of talk of regulation for social media the way that we're talking
As
about.
an anonymous person, a person can close the doors and windows of his room and shout whatever
Yes.
wants to shout inside that room. But if that person wants to go out into the town square and then say something, then the accountability has to be there.
No, fair. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me, when you're talking so much about social media and all the kind of statements that have been coming from your ministry, from everybody in public life and government, it's been happening for the last 3-4 months, we've been hearing more and more about it. Is there a lot of diplomatic pressure that you feel is coming back?
Absolutely from no part
There's
of the
no
world.
American,
See, I mean, every society is facing the same challenges. Recently, if you look at the White House statements, look at those statements.
Yeah. This president particularly is quite
Previous
keen
one
to
also.
check.
Previous one also.
Previous one is a different.
See, end of the day, if something is a written word anywhere or a spoken word anywhere, there has to be accountability for that. That's the fundamental principle.
I'll just take a little bit of a digression to tell you that, in COVID, the traditional news organizations, and I'm just sharing with you, the kind of bump we have seen, because people have been asking for who is the publisher. They were asking for credible sources now. So I think definitely there's an audience also, sort of a demand for that now. It's not just from a regulatory perspective. I think audiences also want to know, can we trust what we're reading? And that's a change now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the things, talking about regulation and technology, I think one of the things which is an important piece now is the semiconductor and what we call the new chip wars. Just walk us through how you're thinking about that. I know that there's a lot of investment that's been commissioned for manufacturing semiconductors in India. Just walk us through that process.
So the industry, and I had I met about 45 topmost semiconductor companies in the world in the Silicon Valley, and 2 very good universities, Purdue and Stan.
Sorry, you met them in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I was
but
there.
But a lot of the semiconductor manufacturing is in China, Taiwan.
Yes, but I'm telling you the perspective that one gets.
Okay.
So the semiconductor industry globally is about $650 billion today. In the next 7 to 8 years, it's going to double. By 2030, it should certainly exceed $1 trillion. That's the kind of growth. Talent required, the open positions, the talent required by 2030 is about 1 million talent required. Practically everything that we see has semiconductor in it. In Vande Bharat, practically about 30,000 chips are there in one train. 30,000, 32,000 chips are there in one train. It's practically like a computer on wheels. Same is in that mic that you are holding, in the watch that you are wearing, the lights that you see here, the screen which is there. Everything, the fan, the air conditioner, everything, it's the most important thing of today's economy.
It's a new oil.
It's more than that in that sense. Oil can be replaced by batteries, but batteries will require semiconductors. So, so it's more than that. It's really big. So we are looking at a complete picture where what is our geopolitical and geoeconomic positioning. If you manufacture semiconductors in Taiwan and the cost is 100, then your manufacturing cost in some other richer countries will be about 140 or 160, 170. If you manufacture semiconductors in India, the cost will be about 80. One.
It will be cheaper than Taiwan, cheaper than China?
Yeah. Second, we have 52,000 semiconductor design engineers currently working in the country right now. Third, we have tied up within a short time span since our Prime Minister approved the semiconductor policy, within that short span of time, we have tied up with 106 universities where we are now teaching semiconductor BTech programs and semiconductor MTech programs, VLSI, design, many things. We have, if you look at the largest semiconductor manufacturing complex in the world, it's 4,500 acres served by one port. We are creating a zone which will be 10,000 acres to begin with, served by 5 ports and 3 international airports. Fed by green power fully, 100% green power. So you talking of scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. Scope 3, we are targeting here.
Wonderful.
So the world today understands very clearly that the next biggest semiconductor manufacturing destination has to be India. It cannot be anything else. It cannot be any other place. That's the way the world is looking at our country. And everybody is advising, don't rush through this. This is always, don't repeat the mistakes that other countries did. And that's why we are focusing so much on making sure that the ecosystem gets in place and very complex gases, very complex chemicals. So if there is a sag of voltage for 3 seconds, then the whole day's production will go away, will go waste. That's the complexity of this entire thing. So that's why we are working in a very methodical, very systematic way to make sure that the ecosystem comes up. We know for sure in the coming 4-5 years, India will become the biggest semiconductor manufacturing destination in the coming years, if you have the ecosystem in place. So our focus is absolutely on making sure that the ecosystem gets developed.
And how important is it to get the first project right? I'm saying that there's a
very, very important. Very, very important.
So this 10 billion incentive scheme appears to be small at this point in time if you look at, say, 5
So
years
when
on.
we talk to the global majors, they say that numbers in terms of dollars can be very high in other countries. But the thought process that our Prime Minister gave, that focus on talent, this is a very, very big distinguishing element for our policies, first. Second, our focus on creating the ecosystem rather than rushing for the first fab. Everybody is appreciating that. They are saying that that's the sustainable way of growing the industry. Because if you, again, I will not take any names, but people give examples, people have all the experts, and our semiconductor mission is not driven by, people who, it's basically driven by some of world's best people, best talent, best people.
Specialized talent.
Specialized people who know semiconductor industry inside out. Vinod Dham, the father of Pentium chip, right? As a young student, he was one of my idols. I used to think, oh, one day I'll meet Vinod. I honestly used to feel that kya wo din hoga when I'll meet Vinod Dham. And he's now working with us.
Wonderful.
So people like Professor Paul Raj of Stanford University, amazing deep talent where these are the people who are working on a semiconductor mission. So they are the ones who are guiding everything. They are the ones who are actually navigating this entire thing.
And is that... is it Foxconn Vedanta project, is that likely to be the front runner?
Don't take any names. This is supposed to be Adda. This is not supposed to be.
But would it be a problem if the venture that
We'll
comes
do the
in,
right thing is what I can tell you.
But you will obviously have private involvement. There'll have to be private involvement in
It
this
has
venture.
to be private
It can't
sector.
be.
It has to be
can't
private sector.
You've mentioned all the strengths as to why we can eventually lead in this and how carefully we're doing it. We're not doing it in a rush. We're not doing it as a just pick a template and apply it. Any weaknesses as to, from India's perspective, that why we might struggle to lead in this space? Just given the fact that, China and, Korea Taiwan have got so much, of a head start.
See, the challenges, the fundamental challenge that we will face is that when we are creating a new industry, people generally have a tendency to wait and watch, which is very natural, whether it is automobile industry or electronics manufacturing. But everywhere we have seen, for example, electronics manufacturing. 10 years back, electronics manufacturing in India was like what, minuscule?
Yeah.
Last year we crossed a benchmark of $100 billion. So we are $105 billion electronics manufacturing now.
Fantastic.
Mobile phone, 10 years back, 98% of the mobile phones that we were using in India were imported. Today, 98% are made in India. And last year we exported $11 billion worth mobile phones, right? So the journey, when Prime Minister launched the Make in India program, the world was like the political opponents, they were like, Babbar Sher dikha diya, right? Ek to pata nahi, I think somebody said ki jahan jao wahan Babbar Sher dikhta hai, right? They were trying to create kind of like play it down. But see the impact which we have today. Electronics manufacturing, defense, precision mechanical items, sector after sector are solar PV cells, right? 20 gigawatt capacity we have got created in manufacturing solar PV cells. So it's like that. Semiconductor will also be like that.
Raw material?
Raw material for semiconductors is basically, I have some pictures I could have shown you. It's basically sand.
Which we have a lot of.
Basically silica rich sand which has to be refined and then put into silica, then you create the silicon, then you put it in an ingot and then cut and slice.
So when you say ecosystem, beyond the foundry, what is it that we're looking at?
Very complex ecosystem, 250 odd very, very special chemicals and gases. 1. 2, very, very reliable power supply. 3, ultra pure water which has to be manufactured. Clean water has to be passed through nanomembranes to manufacture that ultra pure water. Absolutely 100%, 100% reliable, 9 sigma reliability of supply chain. You cannot miss 1 day, you cannot miss 1 hour, you cannot miss 1 second.
Wow.
It's like that. It's really complex. That's why our focus is so much on creating that ecosystem.
We have a lot more to get through too, but I know we're running out of time, and I want to get some questions from the audience as well. So we'll get to the audience, and if I don't get a question on telecom, then I'll ask it, and then we'll end with a quick rapid fire. Please, the gentleman in the back there, put this hand. Yeah, please. Please introduce yourself, and please keep it to a question.
Yes, sir. My name is Shivam.
Can you stand up so we can see you, please? Thanks.
Yes, sir. My name is Shivam. Hi, sir. Regards to sustenance, sir, whatever the technology we are trying to implement, and we are moving towards Web 3.0 technologies, right, where metaverse, blockchain, AI is going to come. And there will be huge interoperability is going to come there in the picture. So how we will sustain that in the upcoming? What is your plan, sir?
So one good example is our payment system, right? Government created one platform which is interoperable. Our entire India stack. The story of our India stack is democratizing technology in a way that no single company can have stranglehold on the technology, right? Our Prime Minister, when he launched Digital India Mission, the entire focus was that technology should get democratized. Every citizen of the country should be able to use it. Lots and lots of startups, small businesses, MSME, everybody should be able to get the benefit of technology. So on the question of interoperability, our philosophy, our government's philosophy is very clear. We have to make sure that the basic building blocks are built in a way which are interoperable, open access, open APIs, make sure that they are available to everybody, everybody who wants to use that to create new solutions, or use them for getting a service. So that's the thought process that we are approaching in practically every technology. Like, let's say 4G, 5G stack that we created, right? Again, the entire world has only 5 companies which have end-to-end telecom technology stack. And we are now challenging those big players by having our own 4G, 5G technology stack. Many rich countries tried, could not do. Rich countries, I'm telling. They tried, could not do. And it has taken us huge effort of almost 2.5 years, and we have been able to successfully produce a 4G, 5G technology stack. Develop a 4G, 5G technology stack. And the developed world now wants to use that. We have got inquiries from about 20 countries, but our thought process is that we should first deploy it on 10,000 sites, then only we should look at exports. But that's, again, the principle is one big element of the system we create using public funds so that there is no monopoly. Then all other elements can be created using private funds. So it's a very classic public-private partnership where no single company gets a stranglehold on technology.
Payments, we did a very good job with. I mean, that now Japan has...
Yeah, Japan has agreed to, in fact, they evaluated, and the Japanese digital minister, Mr. Kono-san, I thank him. Our Prime Minister's vision has been so well understood by Japan that they said that, yes, this is definitely the best system which can immediately be adopted. So we have started working together.
Ashwini ji, 4G, 5G stack. Is 6G kya hai, and will it sit on top of the same stack, or will we have to create a whole new stack for that?
If you look at the evolution of telecom technology, when the world moved from wired to wireless, which is like mobile, the first generation was practically nothing, but 2G to 3G was one family of technologies. 4G was a new platform. 4G to 5G and 5G advanced is one family. 6G will be a totally new platform.
So all the infra that's been deployed for 4G, 5G, we'll have to create it all over again for 6G?
There are 3 different parts of that infra. There is passive infra, which doesn't need to be changed.
That's boxes.
There is active infra, which will be changed. And then there is connectivity things, which will keep on carrying these. Let's say the optical fiber between cable and the core, the tower and the core, that will continue to carry data any of the generations.
So every time there's a new 7G, 8G, 35G, 45G, we're not going to keep breaking our roads down, na? Wo chalega.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's a relief.
But 5G has a standalone component, no? 5G has a standalone component that can be upgraded to 6.
So standalone is architecture. As a family, 4G and 5G are same family.
The lady in the middle, please.
Thank you for a really, really refreshing sort of set of conversation. I'm Meena Vaidyanathan. I'm a social entrepreneur. I want to take you back to your railways chat. And I love the idea of a hub and spoke model, but with our politically fractured, polarized kind of structure, you really think it will be possible to have a seamless hub and spoke?
If sincere efforts are made, see, if you look at the political landscape of our country today, go to a village where the per capita income is half the national average. Go to that village, talk to the people who are not as privileged as we are, all of us are. The sincerity of our Prime Minister's political journey the sincerity of purpose with which he is driving the governance today, and the honesty of the intent is visible when you talk to the people on the ground. वो आदमी ठीक कर रहा है. Imagine, I mean, again, let me give you one very clear example. Many parts of our society, the young people have gone to cities and the elderly are living in the villages. Imagine a mother living in the village of Uttarakhand. That mother today thinks that I have a son sitting in Delhi, Narendra Modi, who's sending me food, who's making sure that I am taken care of, month after month, after day, whether those two sons who went to Mumbai think of me or not, it doesn't matter. That's the trust and faith which people actually have. So if we work with that sincerity of purpose, the fractured politics can take care of it.
I mean, I'm not sure whether you meant to ask this, but if West Bengal or Karnataka say, "They हमें Vande Bharat नहीं चाहिए यहाँ पे, we don't want to connect," then are they losing votes? Are you convinced of that, or is it something that you have a problem then to convince those states to kind of?
Just see the video of Vande Bharat launch from Howrah to New Jalpaiguri. So those who are opposing are losing votes.
So you're convinced that the product is such that you're going to that no state will come in the way of that connectivity. That's the question.
Honestly, even the political opponents, when they talk to us one-on-one, they say that what Modi ji is doing is the right thing. We wish our leadership also had similar mindset.
Mr. Anil Somani is here. Yes, please. Dr. Saluja's, yeah. Comment.
Yeah, I have two issues related to a common man. So with Vodafone Idea being where it is today, we have a virtual duopoly in the telecom, mobile telephony. And we occasionally hear of the struggle of Airtel, also financial struggle. So are we heading towards a monopoly, which is a worrisome situation for...
No, you are not heading towards a monopoly.
Okay.
Even duopoly will not be there. BSNL is coming up as a very stable player in the market. They have started making operating profits now. It's a turnaround story for BSNL, and the technology that they are going to use, which is our India's 4G and 5G stack, is a step above the other relevant technologies. So just don't have any concern.
So there'll be 4 thriving players or 3 thriving players and 1 struggling player?
You will decide as market players.
But globally, you see telecom, generally the largest countries also, you end up with 2-3 players. It doesn't get more than that generally.
It's very capital intensive. It has its own very rapid technology cycles. So all those things come, but the way technology is moving, we don't know 5 years, 6 years from now, 10 years from now, telecom will be a totally different thing. You won't require a phone. You might just put your hand here and talk into your hand and something. Who knows? Things are changing so fast.
But will data costs ever, move? I mean, or will they always? Is this our new reality? That data will always be.
We are the most affordable telecom market in the world.
Will it remain that way always?
I think we'll remain like that.
Very good. So one more issue. After the first demonetization, we have had an amazing cashless economy. But what are you, with these, the scamsters are also working overtime. So what are you planning to do?
So we have created a system called Astra. Astra has detected 37 lakh fraudulent SIMs and we have deactivated them. 3 reforms which we recently rolled out, all focused on consumer, customer, citizen protection. 2 more are in active development stage. Another 2 to 3 months, we will roll them out. When the suite of applications which are there for customer protection, the entire suite is rolled out, which is about 11 applications, I can say with good confidence, high 97% confidence interval, I can say that yes, we will have a system where it will be very difficult for people to do any frauds.
Great. Yes, please. Dr. Suluja, you are?
He's the boss.
Please, please.
I'm Dr. Ashwini Mehta about the Astra system. How come the Truecaller tells us there are spam things and how come it cannot be filtered at the telecom level?
So it's a question of privacy where Truecaller is taking your consent and taking all your data. Your entire contact list is taken by Truecaller, right? So would you let government do that? If you let the government do that, we are absolutely fine. We can create a better system than that.
The market has decided it's there. If you get
It's,
I'll sign for it.
I'll tell you honestly, one of the points that was made earlier, how do we create that balance between privacy and innovation?
Yes.
That's what we have to work at.
Yes.
So I don't have a question. I just want to congratulate you. We are the train generation. In fact, we have grown up only traveling in train. And the only thing that we used to feel bad when we were traveling abroad was fantastic train systems there. And coming back, that was a stark thing. But now we are equally and more proud of the system that you have created, and Prime Minister's vision has actually got into an actualization that we have seen it happen. So that is a very big kudos to the government, and especially our generation, we've seen the transition. My other thing, other suggestion is that the insurance regulator and the government can actually work on a PPP model in the healthcare sector for the in the trains, whether it is the medical providing or even the travel insurance, because 2.5 crore people traveling every day. The penetration, the next really big concern with the regulator and with Prime Minister's wanting is to reach out to the insurance. This is a very, very big sector. If something can be devised in that area, it will be a fantastic service to insurance.
Certainly, we are very open to new ideas. We are very open to listening to the concerns, very open to creating solutions. We'll work on these ideas. Certainly, we'll work on these ideas.
We'll take 2-3 more. Yes, please. Mr. Jain.
Good evening, sir. Mohit Jain from Times of India. Meeting you always is full of optimism and fantastic questions, Anand. So I just wanted to check with you that, these large budgets that you're talking about, 2,40,000 crores for railways, and if we go with this run rate, so does it, lead to some kind of a increase in the budget deficit, or are we mobilized in terms of resourcing to finance such kind of mega dreams?
So the economic benefits of a railway project, as I explained, are significantly higher compared to the financial cost. So this is something, see, if your economy grows by a particular nominal rate, then the taxes also come in. We have modeled, if you are investing 100 rupees in railways, the economic impact is 360 rupees. The taxes which come back from this investment are of the order of about 32, 33 rupees, right? The MSME who get the benefit is of the order of about 230, 240 rupees. That's the kind of benefit which is there all across the economy. So this is an investment worth taking, and we should not look at it purely from the financial P&L perspective. We should look at it from a complete comprehensive economic perspective. Financially also it makes sense, by the way.
We'll take 2 last questions. There's a lady in the back with her hand up for a long time, and then Mr. Dalmia on the front, please.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. This is Sanjana Chaudhary. I'm a student of journalism from Delhi University. And back home in Bhopal, there's a railway station called Habibganj Railway Station, if you must know, which has been changed to Rani Kamlapati Station. And you were talking about preservation of heritage and everything, which does not really comply with the name change. And it has also been the first privatized station of India. So what is the future of many such railway stations in the future? Are they also going to be privatized, and what's it all going to look like?
You saw some of the pictures, right? That future is visible to you. It's there on social media. You can see many pictures. The name, if your question is on name change, is your question on name change?
Yes, definitely. Preservation of heritage.
So, question of name change, the heritage of Bhopal is the Gond Rani Kamlapati. There is no person like
Habibullah.
There is no person like Habibullah. The heritage of that place is Rani Kamlapati of the tribal kingdom, and that is what has been restored.
Right. I would like to just state simply that he also donated the land and money for the construction of the railway station. Thank you.
Mr. Dalmia, and then I've got actually 2 questions online. I need to also take the good questions, so I'll also take that.
Minister, I'm VN Dalmia. So my recent travel experience has been on Shatabdis. Why can't we make our toilets world class?
Our toilets, you must see what was the situation 10 years ago. Did you travel 10 years back?
Yes, I did.
What was the condition of toilets and what is the condition today? See, all the toilets in every train of the country have been converted to bio toilet in the last 9 years. All the trains. And bio toilet is probably the most greenest way of managing solid waste compared to many other ways where people use a vacuum suction unit and then have a separate disposal and all those. That's a very, very, very big change. One. Second, further upgrading the quality of toilets. We have, if you see the recent launch that we did about 5-6 months back, if you go and see the social media post that we have made, totally new design of toilets, And we have all the new trains that we are manufacturing, for example, Vande Bharat, go and see the toilet. You wouldn't, now I'll request all of you passengers to please make sure that you keep them clean.
So my point is, the maintenance. Either the water is overflowing or it isn't flowing or the toilet is
Please
broken.
go and see some of the recent ones. You'll find a difference.
There's a question from Professor Ashish Garg from IIT Kanpur. Increasing role of R&D without which industry doesn't remain competitive, and creating technology translation centers such as the Holst Center or IMEC in private-public partnership mode.
See, increasing investment in R&D has enabled us to develop all these technologies. Whether it is Vande Bharat, whether it is 4G, 5G, whether it is defense equipment, whether it is our own solar PV manufacturing capability, that has all come because of increasing investment in R&D. And that journey is going to continue.
Yeah. I'll take one last question from the lady here who had a hand up for a while, and then I'll go to a quick rapid fire. Sorry, I'm running out of time. Or can we take 2 together? Is that okay? Are you tight?
It's up to you, you're the boss.
We'll take 2 together, from here and the lady in the
increase the temperature.
So there is a...
Yeah, before you ask the question, I think we're all feeling very cold on stage, if it's possible to make that...
So
Okay.
there is a decarbonization challenge also going on at the same time, and an energy transition is taking place. And you are moving 600 million tons of coal, which is earning so much revenue, which helps you to subsidize passenger transport. So that, how do you see getting out of that, and what happens to those revenue when coal gradually will reduce?
So last...
Second is, just one more, the energizing tracks, you've done a great job, but at the same time, you have plenty of opportunities to do solar stations, solar tracks, and I understand that your investments are going into the train themselves, but at some point, energy...
No.
It
So
may
this
pay for itself.
1 hour is a very short time to talk about everything that we are doing. So very recently we did a successful procurement of 1,000 megawatt of green energy. See, 60 years, 30,000 kilometers of electrification. 9 years, 40,000 kilometers of electrification. 60 years versus 9 years. That's the difference. That's the pace at which we are working. Large solar procurement, solar PPAs, we are signing so that we can have maximum possible green. See, our Prime Minister has given us a target of net zero by 2030. We are working and successfully achieving that target.
Lady on the third row, please. Please, I hope it's a short question.
Good evening to everybody. My name is Renu Sharma. I'm a social activist and ex-Indian Express as well during Ramnath Goenka's days. I have a question, couple of questions before. You said that we are trying to do a lot of, concessions for the parents who are living abroad. But immediately after COVID, the 50% discount which we used to give it to 60 plus has been withdrawn, whereas MPs and their families still get the discounts.
No, so let me put all the facts in place. Probably you are not having all the facts. We are subsidizing passenger travel by 59,000 crore. 59,000 crore. How many state governments have that kind of budget? That is the money that the government of India is putting in, making sure that every passenger gets a 55% concession. If the cost of transportation is 100 rupees, Railways is charging only 45 rupees. That's the data, that's the fact that you must check. Right? One. Two, it is, I'm talking the average. Now, there are so many travel products in railways, so many trains, where the subsidy is even up to almost like 80%, 85%. That much concession is being given. So please look at the facts properly.
I think he's given his answer, and I think everybody wants a discount though. That doesn't end. I think between 35 to 40 also you should give a discount. Okay, let's go to the rapid fire. I think, I'm just looking at my rapid fire and you've actually answered a lot of it through it. So there might be some repeats, Ashwini ji, but just so that, just for our social media audience, we might repeat some questions and ask you to answer in short. It's a section where you are meant to have fun, so have fun with the rapid fire and try to keep the answers short.
I thought it was a grilling session.
Okay, after Vande Bharat, your best rail travel experience in the world?
After Vande Bharat, best is Shinkansen.
Okay. Which Indian origin global tech leader do you think is best equipped to ride the correction in American big tech? Satya, Sundar, Shantanu or Arvind?
All the four have very good strengths. I think a lot of it will depend upon how the global regulatory setup evolves, because if AI is regulated very strongly, then there will be certain path that the tech industry will follow. If social media is regulated very strongly, there will be another path. So it will all depend upon how the regulation shapes up.
Who are these four Indian global tech leaders do you think stand out?
All these four have very good
You've
strengths.
met all four of them. I think you met all four of them.
And all four have very good strengths. Very sharp people. All the four are very good.
What's the one thing that frightens you about artificial intelligence?
The fact that it has got intelligence.
Rate the American antitrust regulations on big tech so far. Good, bad, or acceptable?
Bad.
Elon Musk, CEO of Twitter, or Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla? Which one is easier for India to arm twist?
I think Musk as inventor was the best Musk.
Okay. And who is best for India?
Any inventor anywhere in the world who creates new technologies like electric car or SpaceX, people like Steve Jobs who created Apple. Inventors are the ones who are good for,
That's a good answer.
for the humanity.
That's a very good answer. Which of the four modes of transportation are likely to become the most ecologically friendly? Water, rail, road, and aviation. Which is most likely to become the most ecologically friendly?
Rail is by far, by a big margin, the most ecological.
And will always be.
It will
all
always
innovation. Creating an electronic database for audio files, connecting the printer to a network, or the baby birth in trains? Which of these three?
How much do you know about me? I'm worried now.
Which of these three innovations by you is closest to your heart?
Invention-wise, creating, integrating sound and creating a new multimedia database management system. That was a very big invention, a cutting-edge invention at that point of time.
What point of time was that? What year?
This is, I'm talking of 91 and 92. So I think that's very close to my, and a lot of effort had gone in.
Engineer, politician, bureaucrat. Which of the three do you like the most?
All are equally good, man.
Okay. 2 records as railway ministers, laying new rail lines equal to that of the entire Swiss network, or building the world's highest arched bridge, the Chenab Bridge. Which achievement is closer to your heart?
I think increasing capacity is very, very important for the country. So 5,200 kilometers, 14 kilometers a day is very important for us.
And my last question, Lalu Prasad Yadav, Mamta Banerjee, or Nitish Kumar? Which of these 3 chief ministers did the best job in railways?
I think all the 3 loved cows. And they were using railways as milking cows.
Is there any railway minister in the past who you think, whose work you have appreciated and has helped you take forward?
Everybody has contributed.
No,
some
that's,
good,
that's too
some
diplomatic an
good,
answer.
some bad.
Who's the one guy who stands out?
Lal Bahadur Shastri ji was.
Ashwini ji, thank you so much for your time. It's been a wonderful conversation. I've learned a lot. I hope the audience has too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Some of the answers were very technical.
I would now like to invite Indian Express Chief Editor Raj Kamal Jha to present a sketch to the Minister. Dr. Rashmi Saluja, if you would please come and felicitate the Minister. Dr. Rashmi Saluja is the Executive Chairperson of the Religare Group. Thank you everyone for being with us this evening. As the evening ends, I would once again like to thank our presenting partner, Religare Enterprises Limited, our associate partners, Fostima, Thane Bharat Sahkari Bank Limited, Railtel Corporation of India Limited, and Devans, and of course our hospitality partner, Le Méridien.